What up, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and this is a very special podcast episode because it is a Twitch exclusive. If you guys are not following me on Twitch, please do so at twitch.tv/Marie_Shadows. Over there, we get to talk about a variety of topics, especially topics that are hot right on Twitter and the IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, is always shouting about. I wonder who wins those shouting matches. Well, this topic in particular is about Max the Impaler and Sarah Logan and how people are saying that it's very similar and bad Sarah Logan for stealing the idea and the gimmick. And I give you multiple different perspectives on this topic because it's not as grand as you would think it is. It really isn't. What if I told you that Max the Impaler, an apocalyptic style gimmick of a wrestler, and Sarah Logan, a Valhalla priestess, a Viking priestess, can coexist in professional wrestling without their careers being jeopardized? Thank you for listening to this episode and stay tuned all the way to the end because I have some more news. Yeah, this is definitely a big story. I'm not really gonna preface this as like, welcome to the Square Circle Podcast anyway, right? So we'll just jump right into it. To answer your question, I don't think he's to blame for this. Only because like they're two different characters. They are not the same character. And that's what people are not understanding. And everyone is just in their feelings. And it's like, while yes, it's valid to be in your feelings and come to the defense of your friend, which, people should do. But this is where you have to look like objectively because Sarah's been like doing this type of like, what do you call it? Like hairstyle and ring gear, so to speak, a little bit when she was in WWE before she ended up having a kid and then coming back. It makes more sense for her to do this and get fully immersed into like Viking culture and stuff like that. And since like her husband is, probably has some roots in Viking culture, like why not, right? So when I first saw it, right, because I do know that Max the Impaler has the apocalyptic wasteland gimmick, which is totally different than like having a Viking sort of gimmick. Just because of like the different dresses, the different stuff. I've never heard a Max promo, I've never heard like Max actually speak other than like grunting, and Max does a lot of screaming to like intimidate you. So that's sort of like what, I guess our concept of what an apocalyptic creature, human being will be, because we created what like apocalyptic is, right? We created that part. For Vikings, like, it could be made up, but we do have like concrete evidence that like Vikings were around and they did this, they did that. They, they hunted, they pillaged and everything. So we really can't say that like that one is like fantasy. We romanticize Viking history and shit. So, I can understand why like sometimes people can get a little either confused or upset that like somebody will copy off of somebody else. But I can literally say that this is not really a copy. It's not. Because if it was a blatant copy, like I think that, it wouldn't have been look like it was like last minute type of thing, because it really did look like it was last minute, even though it was an awesome entrance. But this is definitely not a copy. They're two different things. They have two different like motivations and stuff. And so, by the way, for people in chat that are saying that like the ones on Twitter that are saying that it looks like, blackface and stuff, they only saying that to get a reaction out of you because, they know better. But you're going to take the bait, you're going to get pissed off, and you're going to yell at them, and they're going to be like, ha, ha, ha. They're going to go about their day not really caring about it, and you're going to be upset. So stop feeding the trolls. They know better. They just want a reaction out of you. Now, the thing that I really don't like is that on Twitter and the internet wrestling community, every time that somebody comes out with something, somebody doesn't like it, everyone gets upset, everyone basically punches down on it, and basically is like, it's a form of cyberbullying, right? Where like you talk shit about the person, you create memes about the person, and then you want to turn around and be like, you're a good person as well, that you don't really do this and you don't participate in it. I just don't like that, because then, the person that you're clowning on really is not going to defend themselves because they don't have Twitter. They're mostly on their Instagram. But it's also like, you're like stooping to like a level like really, really below. If you don't like something, that's fine. You can constructively criticize and say that you don't think that this was the right approach at this right time, when Max has been on the indies busting their ass off, creating this gimmick that they want to get in front of people. Like, you should be more constructive criticizing the fact that this happened this way, rather than, taking stuff from Sarah's personal life, bringing that in here, and then just making it a big joke and trying to be like the savior for Max, when Max can definitely probably handle themselves if need be. If Max really wanted to say something, they would have said something, which they kind of did, by putting up a graphic. A GIF. Sorry, putting up a GIF. The point is that it's really sad that the internet wrestling community will harp on something altogether and be in this echo chamber, rather than letting the person live how they want to live in their personal life. And then, like, I kind of lost my train of thought, because I was like, my brain was going to be like, and to respect the wrestler or whatever, right? Because like, they're two different people. Whatever someone believes, let them go believe it, unless like, it like really impacts you. I don't think Sarah here is going to go straight to your front door and knock on the door and like, try to do something stupid, because first of all, that'd be trespassing. But like, she's not going to someone's door to be like, oh, you're wrong for this, you're wrong for that. She's not doing that. So if her personal life is not affecting you, don't bring her personal life or whatever you think happened in her personal life, like, to the conversation. The conversation is this a ripoff? Is this stealing? Is Triple H to blame? Is Triple H watching the indies? And because he has a star already that can look the part and be part of the team, why does he need to go sign Max, right? Like, those are the important points here. It's not about what Sarah believes in. It's not about where Sarah was on January 6th. Like, people like to do this whole clowning shit, and it's like, you guys got to stop doing that. You got to stop. Like, it would have been nice to be like, oh, welcome back, Sarah, because it's a different type of character. Nobody gets upset at House of Black when they have like similar imagery, when they have similar logos. Malachi Black has like similar face paint along with a contacted like yellow eye and stuff. Like, like, no one gets mad at Malachi Black and his team House of Black for what he does, and he doesn't even claim to be like an apocalyptic type of character, stable, I mean, it's okay. It's technically, it's not really the same face paint, but I do see where it can be similar face paint, and you're totally right that, like, it probably would take like 2 seconds to change to like something else or whatnot. Like, honestly, I really do think that when they had the idea for like Sarah to come back and be part of and be the third member for the Viking Raiders. I really do think it was put together last minute. I really do think it was put together last minute. Her headpiece and everything with the antlers. No. What the fuck? Why am I saying antlers for? That sounds so weird. But her headpiece and everything was fine. I do think that they put it together like last minute. But yeah, you're totally right that it probably could have taken 2 seconds to do some different type of makeup, but this is what she chosen at the time. It's not that big of a deal because most likely next week, if she appears on TV, it's probably going to be a different makeup. If it's not, then yeah, you can complain again to be like, hey, but complain smartly, complain constructively, and be like, hey, Triple H and WWE team, makeup team, let them know that like Max has it this way, Sarah has it this way. We are concerned about that fans will think that one is a knockoff, and we don't want to do that because Max worked really hard on everything that Max has accomplished. That's how you tell somebody constructive criticizing in a very nice way, to be like, hey, it's great that she's back, but can we please fix the makeup? And, you be nice about it. You don't just clown on them, make memes, and then wonder why the wrestlers and the promoters and, the owners don't want to listen to you. Cause the first thing you do is to be sarcastic, to clown, to cyberbully, even though if you may not think it's cyberbullying, but it sort of is kind of cyberbullying, where you just punch down on somebody that can't defend themselves. And then, on Twitter, we're like, oh, we shouldn't be cyberbullying people. We shouldn't be doing this or doing that because it hurts people's feelings, but yet then nothing really changes. I totally respect the fact that people, want to come in and defend somebody else, but I've always live my life of, I could defend myself. If I can't defend myself, then I know the right people to defend me or to help me. But, I've always lived that way where I'm like, I don't really need people to come to my defense if I can defend myself. But those were the main things that were really bothering me, is that people online are way too comfortable with saying whatever the hell they want, getting away with it, and not looking at the bigger picture. And then if you were to call them out and be like, hey, this isn't right. You shouldn't really be talking about their personal lives and stuff, or bringing that into the conversation when that has nothing to do with it, just because you don't like the person. You know what I liked about the 90s when I grew up in the 90s? Everybody said something with their chest. Okay? You guys didn't see it, but everyone said something with their chest. Nobody went around, the proverbial bush and clown. Yeah, of course they did, in joking, but most of the time people were like, I don't like you. They straight out said, I don't like you. And then in today's era, it's more let's make memes, let's make jokes, let's go poke around into their personal lives and let's bring it to light. When they're playing a wrestling character, this generation gets upset and gets emotionally upset over the smallest of things, where you can have a proper conversation and be like, hey, just remember that, consistently Max has been doing this character consistently on the indies, right? Sarah just came back. So you would tell WWE, hey, do you mind changing, having them change it up? So that way she can have her own legacy, her own path. And it makes sense that she's a Viking priestess versus Max being an apocalyptic type of character. There's ways to go about it where it doesn't make you look like the fool in the process. And if you ever wonder why people don't take you serious, it's because you look like a fool in the process about this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Then again, on the flip side, who are you to say it's wrong? There is a time and place to be like, this is wrong. But I think for this specific incident, it's more hey, You guys gotta change the makeup. You guys gotta, like, try to distinguish it a little bit more, because in my head, I do kind of see where some people on Twitter are coming from. I do understand that, like, there are gonna be some fans out there that's gonna be like, oh, Max stole the gimmick from Sarah, and Sarah stole the gimmick from Max. And I think that like 10% of the WWE universe go to indies and they pay attention to the indies, and I think that's like 10% of them. It's not an accurate number, but it's I still think it's like 10% of them that know about the indies. The rest of the WWE universe doesn't really know about the indies, except if you have like Michael Cole on commentary talking about the Great Muta and like New Japan and stuff, but I don't consider them the indies. But like the smaller indies where everyone does the circuits and stuff, like I don't really think the whole entire WWE universe like goes out and watches them. So I would understand why there'll be some concern about people saying that this person stole it, that person stole it. But then again, a lot of people stole a lot of things. Like, WWE is a big example of this. Trying to do like a fake Diesel, trying to do a fake Undertaker, the parody tag teams that came around like before and stuff. Every wrestler got something from somebody else. The difference is that they made it their own. And while, yes, these two images side by side are like, similar to a degree, it's not the end of the world, guys. It's really not. Sarah Logan came back, had a spot on television, and, maybe next week she'll be like, oh, I gotta switch it up, or the makeup or whatnot. Like, this week hasn't even been finished yet. So like next week, we'll see what happens. On next Friday, we'll see what happens. Or maybe they show up on Monday. I don't know. But calm down. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. The shouting matches that we've been having lately is really annoying, man. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean that Max's career is done because Sarah Logan did something similar with face paint and stuff like that. Like, it's not the end of the world, okay? Everyone is still going to eat at the table. Max is still going to get booked. Her team is still going to get booked. Like, everyone made it seem as if like it was the worst shit ever, and just because you don't like somebody, you want to clown on them. It's the same way where everybody like silence the Aleister Black, Malachi Black lookalike on the indies, and he was doing all the moves from Malachi Black and stuff, and everybody again was like, no, you shouldn't do it, you shouldn't do this, blah 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 blah. Malachi Black didn't really have a problem with it. So it's always like the fans want to take control of like what wrestling should be, what wrestlers should do, and I totally get that. Like, everyone should be unique, but in the day of age of like having a plain ass name, it's sort of like, nah. But I digress. And not too long ago, right? A couple of days ago, we were, hey, Black Bret Hart, what is up? You are totally right that everybody has a hot take now. Everybody has a hot take. They're using social media to voice their opinion, which you should voice your opinion, but at least, don't like talk bad about the person when they can't defend themselves. If you have a constructive criticism take, then by all means, post that instead, rather than like, a hot take. By the way, guys, ads start in 4 minutes, just so you know. But oh yeah, so like a couple days ago, we were all united about NWA, right? So NWA is having a problem about trying to book like a woman's, I don't know why I want to say a woman's division. It's not really a woman's division, but they're having trouble with getting women and having them wrestle because they want them to wrestle the NWA style. And I had to like really think about that. And I'm like, I don't remember if the NWA ever booked women back in the day. Like, you know, not every woman performed during the 80s, unless it was like Moolah and like her girls and stuff. So like, you know, our women wrestlers don't have that style. Our women wrestlers have you know, the modern day wrestling style. And I'm like, yo, NWA, I totally get that you want to keep that sort of like aesthetic going, but like you gotta like book some current women that can like work with one. Now it'll be the same thing. Like it'll feel good, you know. So like a couple of days ago, we were all united about like women's wrestling. We were all united about like, you know, women's wrestling matters and women's wrestling can draw. And I even came on here and I was like, dear Tony Khan, this is how you could book 3 women's segments on Dynamite. You guys were here for this. And then all of a sudden now we're divided again about women's wrestling because we have a supposed copy when they're 2 different characters. And yeah, we could probably say that the face paint may be similar, but like other than that, like they're 2 different characters, 2 different paths. Like if you ever played Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Sarah Logan looked more like the priestess you get in Assassin's Creed Valhalla than anything else. Apocalyptic type of characters are way different than a Viking character. Okay, so like I don't understand why we have unity for like women's wrestling when it comes to NWA and knocking down the men who run NWA, but then when it's like 2 women like this doing 2 different things, still getting money, still eating, still being at the table, we all come together and divide. I don't get it. If you have a problem with Sarah's views on whatever it is, that has no place in like, you know, her playing a character. Because if it was really that bad, like she wouldn't be nowhere near wrestling. She'll just be on her farm having her podcast. But she thinks like an individual. She doesn't think like everyone else in an echo chamber, and like she stands by what she believes in. That's okay. It could be okay, different from you. Like if everybody believed everything that you believed, it would be a boring world. So this is what I don't understand, is that we came together over women's wrestling because women's wrestling matters, because NWA was like, we can't find women wrestlers. Okay, came together. All of a sudden, SmackDown is like, here's Sarah Logan with her guys, the Viking Raiders, and everyone is up in arms, and now we're in a divide about women's wrestling. Make it make sense. Somebody make it make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. We're supposed to be united and like still cheer on women. And what Sarah Logan is doing is not taken away from Max. It really isn't, because Sarah did not come out there with like a heavy ensemble of like apocalyptic stuff. There's nothing apocalyptic about being a Viking priestess. If someone could tell me, you know, the huge similarities between these 2 things, like let me know. Because apocalyptic stuff, we created that. We created that form of entertainment. So yeah, we created that form of entertainment. We romanticize Viking history. So like one is rooted in history, one has actual evidence, and then the other one is all fantasy. So why can't these 2 women like, you know, coexist? Because one doesn't align with your views and stuff. Like back in the 90s, a lot of people didn't like believe in everything. A lot of people didn't agree with everything, but they tolerated them. And, you know, we just have a stronger threshold. I'm sorry. I'm a 90s baby. We have a stronger threshold to like look at this from like an objective point of view, and it's not just like an emotional thing. Sarah Logan and Max can coexist in the world of professional wrestling. Yes, Sarah Logan has the backing of WWE. She has a huge production team. They're gonna make it look fantastic, like how they did on SmackDown. It looked fucking fantastic. And Max is still gonna get her bookings. Sorry, gonna get their bookings. Max is still gonna be, the fan favorite wherever Max goes, wherever the team goes. Nothing has really been like one has to stop because of the other. And that's a stupid division on Twitter, is that it feels like people think that, it's gonna end all. It's gonna be wrong. And like, no, stop. Like, it's really bad to really think like that in the first place, because we're supposed to be here supporting each other. And if you guys support Max, continue to support Max. Continue to support Max and their whole entire group. It's not the end. If you're, a fan of Sarah, go support Sarah at WWE. If you're a fan of both, go support both. Like, I don't understand why we had to get into a big argument. Well, not we, because I'm just like, Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm like thinking, dude. I'm thinking exactly. Um, I'm thinking exactly that. Like, the next time that we see Sarah, that she's gonna have a different face paint or something different. I would understand if like they told Sarah, hey, we got to put tattoos on you. And then they saw the tattoos that Max had. Like, if Sarah came out with like the tattoo that Max has here, then I'll be like, bro, what you doing? Like, no, that's not going to fly. But obviously Sarah does not have the same markings as Max, So yeah. So like, they're two different characters, two different paths. One's going to be a priestess for the Viking Raiders. And Max is going to continue to destroy people. Max is going to continue to like work in Japan. Sarah hasn't gotten the chance to work in Japan yet. So that's like, a win over Sarah. If you guys want to do a win and loss thing, because I know that's probably like your style, but Max just recently competed over in Japan. Go celebrate that. Not many people can say they went and fought in Japan. Max definitely like took a whole new spin on what it means to be a apocalyptic character in wrestling that doesn't really see too much of those type of wrestlers, that type of aesthetic. So, that's still a win in itself. Like I said, just because you have a problem with Sarah and Sarah's views and what she does on her own time that has nothing wrestling related, it's on you. Like, you're supposed to be a wrestling fan and you're supposed to like enjoy wrestling. It's the same thing with like basketball. Before like all the political shit got into basketball, everybody was a basketball fan. Everybody was arguing about like who was the greatest. Was it, Michael Jordan or like Scottie Pippen, even though they were on the same team? My basketball stuff is like bad, okay? But the concept is that you're a fan for a reason, and whatever they do outside their lives when like they're not focused on wrestling, it's on them, and that's totally separate. Us as wrestling fans, we come here to talk about wrestling and we talk about the characters and stuff like that. So yeah, there goes my rant for 45 minutes. I probably would have turned like a standalone podcast episode into like an hour, just because it like I wanted to go into story too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is everything for this special edition podcast episode right here on the Square Circle podcast. And again, if you are not following me over at Twitch, please go do so. We have a lot more in-depth conversations. I have a lot more educational type of way of going about how to do my Twitch channel and my live streams, because I really do get into storytelling and how to improve the business, how to improve characters and wrestlers and all that stuff that you need to succeed in the wrestling business. And it is a grind. It is very hard. It's very difficult. I totally understand and sympathize with everybody, but getting angry at the spur of the moment does not create solutions. And my channel is all about creating solutions. My podcast episodes are all about creating solutions. If you go back into the archives of the Twitch streams, I created a solution on how Tony Khan can add 3 women's segments to a 2-hour AEW Dynamite show. So if you want to check that out, twitch.tv/Marie_shadows. I probably will have a podcast episode dedicated to that again, so people can listen to that on the go. I just haven't decided to cut that piece out and then upload it as normal onto anchor.fm/Square Circle Podcast. Anchor is now supported by Spotify Video. That's right. This podcast episode is a video podcast and it will be up on Spotify as a video podcast episode. So it's better to watch. You could also listen. It is up to you, but that is now the new option. I will also like to state for the record that if you do not agree with me with any of my opinions, that is totally all right. It's okay to not agree with everyone that you meet, listen to, or interact with. It is their opinion as well as you have yours. The only thing I ask is to be respectful. That's it. Other than that, I would like to promote that I will be having Robbie Eagles on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Marie_shadows, where we'll be talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling's Tamashi, the brand new brand of New Japan Pro Wrestling. They had a 2-night successful event over in Australia and New Zealand this past weekend. So if you are interested in that, as well as learning about Australian wrestling, things in New Zealand, things about New Japan Pro Wrestling, and things about Robbie Eagles, please make sure to head over to twitch.tv/Marie_shadows. This will be taking place on November 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And over in Australia, it will be taking place on November 17th at 11 a.m. Australian Time. Robbie Eagles likes to sleep in, so I'm allowing him to sleep in, because he gives us a lot of entertainment and put his body on the line. So a little bit of extra comfort. If you guys want to get the reminder for this event, there will be a special link down in the description. Please click that link, sign up, just add your email. You'll get better notifications than what twitch.tv really does. So if you don't want to miss out, click that special link down in the description. Sign up, and when it becomes closer to the time of this special event, you will get notified directly to your inbox, to your email, so you don't miss it. If you don't want to, again, twitch.tv/Marie_shadows, November 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern, November 17th at 11 a.m. Australian time. Be there. Don't miss it. It's going to be fun. As always, make sure to tell a friend about the Square Circle Podcast, about Marie Shadows. You can find me on Twitter at Marie_shadows. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Marie_shadows. You can find me at anchor.fm/Square Circle Podcast, and wherever else you listen to podcasts of your choice. I'm probably on there. Just search Square Circle Podcast. And if you want to sign up to my newsletter for more wrestling content and exclusive content, whether that is free or paid content to help me out, help out the channel, sign up for free over at marieshadows.substack.com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this exclusive Twitch podcast episode of talking about the hottest topics in professional wrestling. And I hope you gained a different perspective from how I explained the topic and everything else. You have been listening to an episode of the Square Circle Podcast. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.